I will call this meeting to order. Please note the meeting is being broadcast on, I don't know what it's called, ctsbtv.org Education Channel 1302, and will be rebroadcast on CTBS TV. We have a hearing of visitors, if there are any. Hearing none, we have correspondence, of which there is none. And that brings us to the board report and the school committee meeting minutes of January the 12th. If anyone had any comments on those or would like to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 12th, 2026 school committee minutes as presented.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain. You put abstain, right?
All right. They are approved, and we are on to the superintendent's report.
Okay. Highlights and recognitions. The quiz team at LMHS was first place in the Westfield State Trivia Bowl. Congratulations to them. The robotics ingenuity team took first place in the Vermont qualifier tournament. Next stop is the state championships in Boston in March. It was very exciting. Congratulations to both groups on that. At both schools, we had 8 teachers who were nominated for Teacher of the Year. 3 at Morris, Sarah Leidhold, Sarah Gurney, and Darcy Stahl, and 5 at LMHS, Richard Sanders, Matt Nodler, Brooke Kaminsky, Ben Weaver, and Peter Storenko. And one of them was nominated 9 separate times by existing and previous students. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, and so congratulations to all of them on their nominations. And then at LMHS, kind of a big deal, the Sai Masala got the National Honor Society Scholarship, which in recent memory we can't remember somebody else getting. So it's kind of a big deal. Congratulations to her. And at Morris, Irene Collins got won the spelling bee, and this week will be competing in the regionals. So congratulations to her. We're very proud. And CPAC News, Jessica Dorahan will be presenting on tackling transitions, practical strategies for transition struggles. And that is, Director Kelly, that is going to be Wednesday night? Wednesday night. Okay, Wednesday night at Morris. All right. And those are the highlights and recognitions. And now we are on to the Washington, D.C. trip. And because it is out of state, we need a vote from the school committee.
Hi, I'm Lisa Westweiser. I teach 11th grade English, but I'm representing that 10th grade trip request tonight because for years it was actually my trip. So what we are requesting permission to do is to take 61 10th graders to Washington, D.C. on coach buses with 7 chaperones to stay outside of the city at Tyson's Corner overnight. I think we go to Udvar Hazy the first day. The next day into town, we'll walk around the mall, see a bunch of monuments, go to the African American Smithsonian, and then after lunch, go to the Holocaust Museum. I think that night we go to Alexandria for dinner, historic Alexandria, a little walking around in there. And then the next day is Arlington Cemetery in the morning, which is always wonderful, and up to see the changing of the guard, and then out to Mount Vernon this year, which is a new addition to the trip, and then home. And it's always been absolutely wonderful. The trip's great. It complements the history curriculum, obviously, quite well, but additional curriculums. And I mean, I just think the camaraderie between the kids on the trip is pretty much unmatched. So we would request your permission to go.
Questions? All right. Someone going to approve it?
I will make a motion to approve the Washington DC field trip for the 10th graders.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Great.
I'm not going anywhere.
And then Lisa is also coming to request the New York City field trip for 11th grade.
So now I'm asking for myself to take the 11th grade class just for one day. Again, we'll take Coach, this is in April, to New York City. So I teach American history. I don't teach American history. My colleague, Megan Porter, teaches American history. I teach American literature. And together it's American studies. So this trip would complement that duo. We start the year by reading The Great Gatsby, and the trip would allow us to see it, the musical adaptation, in the afternoon on Broadway. And in the morning, we'll go to the 9/11 Museum and Memorial and do that, which obviously jibes pretty well with American history. And then lunch in between and home that night. Come back to school Friday.
All right. Any permission be granted with the New York City? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. Joe Bazzano is here to speak about the Nordic ski field trip request.
In the Olympic spirit.
That's right.
The Olympic spirit this year, yeah, a lot of fun. Yes, we have our annual ski trip, and I'm here to request permission to take the team. We'll be leaving, this year it kind of came quick, next Wednesday, the 18th to the 20th. We stay 2 nights, and we'll ski at the Olympic Center, Mount Van Hovenberg, throughout the day. We stayed at the same place for years now. It's called T-Max and Topos, it's a youth hostel. We rent out the entire facility, so there aren't other people there. In the evenings, we'll go into town. They skate on the oval track or get ice cream when it's freezing out. And they just have a great way to, at this point, end the ski season. We have our state championship tomorrow, so it's kind of a nice way to just keep skiing and teach them a lot. The camaraderie. We have 19 skiers going this year, and we have all 4 coaches going this year. We also request to use the school van, as we have in the past.
And this is 100% funded by the students, correct?
Yes.
Cruz also want to approve any out-of-state businesses, things that come up kind of as right as we get mentioned in last year.
Yeah.
This field trip specifically in a prospect practice, grow on those.
Okay.
You want those as 2 separate motions?
Yeah, let's do the field trip first.
The trip first? I'll make a motion to accept the field trip to Lake Placid as presented.
Seconded.
Can I have take something? Second things, but give motion.
All in favor? Aye. And
And I'll
then,
make a motion that we also grant permission for the team to be able to go for a practice session or anything else they may need to before their meet next week at Prospect.
would it be just for this, or do we need for the whole
It's not.
season?
Well,
As the season ends next week.
on the season just about.
Oh,
Okay.
I see. All right. Well then,
So ideally, maybe and how much these?
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Feels like we're going to have snow for another 2 months, so we might as well.
Right.
I had the opportunity to address the National Honor Society students, and at the end of that, I asked them what they were looking for in their next principal, and one of the things that they mentioned was continued support of field trips, that education doesn't happen just within the 4 walls, and the experiential piece of it was very meaningful to them, and they were hoping that that would be able to continue. So as you approve these field trips know that the students thank you. All right. Next is the budget overview with Mrs. Falkowski.
I can't believe we have to turn this down. What did I do?
So,
Here, we'll leave it like that. Sorry. The initial operating budgets for 2027. As we move along in the process, this is sort of a midway look at where we are. When we bring forward numbers in March, we'll be much, much closer to the final request that we'll bring mid-March or so for vote of approval or discussion. So this presentation will talk about operating costs as we see them right now for next year. And it's broken out by program as we typically do and includes current expected discretionary and non-discretionary contractual, insurance benefits, things of that nature. And we also include revenue amounts anticipated that we'll use to offset the burden on the taxpayer. So we use our revolving funds, as we call them, but larger circuit breaker, school choice, tuition, to offset the operating budget. So we reviewed, as I stated, discretionary, which would be school and department needs, such as supplies, services, software and trips, staffing changes and replacements. Non-discretionary are insurance costs and the increases associated with those. Any contractual obligations, employee and otherwise. Special education needs, and the inflation rate is factored into costs. '26 budget ended at a total of 16,293,886. That's the gross budget. And as we reviewed last year, we have the gross budget. We use our revenues to apply to it to get the net budget. We add the benefits in, and that's the appropriation request. 2027 initial, as we stand right now, is at 17,742,357, an increase of 1.448 variance year over year, or 8.89%. And you can see here some of the areas have decreased, such as central administration. We have a new department that was broken off from elementary and central administration and created the curriculum department. So that's why that's showing a 100% increase. But the other departments are showing a bit of a decrease because they no longer are housing those expenses. Central administration's decrease is lower than it would have been had we not had the overlap of employees through the summer due to a retirement. What else? Student services is another big increase. Mandatory, we have to provide these services, and we've had some students with significant needs that have increased this year's budget carrying forward into next year's.
so when we see the FY 2026 approved student services, our actual spending will be higher than that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we will overspend. We hopefully will qualify for the extraordinary relief, which is 25% above last year's expenditures that qualify for it. And we also have the stabilization fund that is meant for this purpose, that if we do not qualify, we can then move toward using that. Hopefully we qualify and we don't need much of it, if any at all.
So then the 2027 number is then a full year of this.
Yes.
And so, oh, sorry, I just wanted to say for the committee, so we will now have a presentation on each of these
Yes.
elements and can dig into
Yes,
that.
I'll be going overview.
Yeah.
Then I'll do the central admin and operations. And then everyone else will come up and do their specific levels. So the revenue application, these are the funds that the school department has management over. We receive the revenue and we apply it to offset the operating budget. So you can see the amount total in 26 was 2551. In 27 it's 2824. That's a significant increase of 267,000 or 10%. Right now, I think that the funds could sustain this. We want to make sure that we're not using too much and impacting the 28 budget. You have to look at the future years so that you're not scrambling next year because you used too much this year. But right now I'm comfortable with these numbers. I think they're good. I'm going to keep tracking them and then we'll come up with the final numbers in March. So the gross operating 17.7, take off the revenue of 2.8, brings the net budget 14,918, which is an increase year over year, net budget to net budget of 8.56%. And when we look at the non-discretionary and the non-discretionary, the biggest part of this is health insurance, benefits, and Berkshire County retirement. Districts have been assessed by Berkshire County Retirement for many years so that they can fund their pension for the future. That should be ending, and if not next year, the year after, you should not see an assessment again, unless situations change down the road. But this will cover them to make them 100%, 110% funded. The 8.75 health insurance rate increase, plus any additions and revisions to plans, equal 578,260. And then the benefits, FICA and life, small increase, but 6.674, 6,000. So that total comes to 490, 459, 980, 11.23% increase. So discretionary, non-discretionary. And for non-discretionary, what I did was take insurances, special ed, contractual, things that are here that we can't change at this moment, and added up those increases. And that was 1.424 of the total 1.6 increase. And then where we have discretion, field trips, software supplies, things of that nature, 212,000. So there's a big difference with the non-discretionary. It's much larger portion of the increase. So the initial budget request ends up being our net budget of 14,918, which is the gross application of revenue equals the net. Adding in the new benefit with the 8.75, we were higher last month because we anticipated a higher increase. Our initial budget request is 19.475. Which is a 9.17% increase. Speaking with the town and Jay has agreed to a $200,000 application of free cash, which brings that 19.4 down to 19.2, increase of 1.586 million or 8.97%. So our next steps, we're negotiating with Unicy. We're going to continue doing that. We'll talk about money and financial end of that contract probably fairly soon. We'll review special revenue fund balances, make sure that they're still healthy enough to continue on applying a similar amount of revenue for the upcoming years, and monitor personnel changes, retirements, column movements, new hires, where they're hired at, where it's budgeted, and adjust as necessary. We'll keep plugging away at it.
Melissa, on the circuit breaker estimates, we have basically 213 in the current year going up to 276 next year. Does that reflect, why doesn't it go up by much more than that if the special ed costs are going up by 600 or 700K?
Because that 260 some odd amount is based upon expenditures from last year. So you incur the expenditures, you claim the expenditures, you receive the circuit breaker the next year. We keep putting it in the bank, and then we apply it to the next budget cycle.
So the 276 reflects the increased spending happening right now.
No, it was last year.
So there's a 2-year.
Yes, it is a 2-year because last year we receive the funds. In the next year, the 3rd year, we apply the funds.
So next year's circuit breaker
Maybe
in the
higher.
budget would be
Should be
higher
higher.
based on what we're already spending this year.
Mhm.
And 2 years from now would reflect the very large increase coming up now.
Yes. So right now, what's being applied to the 26 budget is money collected last year for 24 expenses. We do very similar with school choice. Although we collect school choice 1 year, we monitor the balances and we apply it in the following year. So that's a 2-year cycle, but we make sure that we have the money before we say we can offset the budget. Any other questions? No. Okay. So I'm staying up here.
Get up. Okay.
So we'll be talking, now is when we get into the individual departments. Excuse me. We'll be talking about central administration first, then we'll move over to operations and maintenance. So the central administration is basically this office here, and it houses the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, business and operations, the executive assistant to the superintendent, the accounting assistant, which is basically business office, and our grant writer, who is a .50. So last year's approved budget was $1.131 million. This initial request right now is $1.079 million, a decrease of $52,000. And that is due to some relocation of expenses and an increase in expenses. It would have been a bit higher on a normal year. So it's showing a 4.61% decrease at the moment, and these are the different areas that we have in this department. And there's minor decreases in school committee and administration salaries. Professional development is showing a decrease because it was moved mostly to curriculum. There is still a balance for the superintendent's discretion to use out of his department. And other costs, payroll, benefit, services. We have to pay Harper's to process our checks, things of that nature. We have an increase of $36,000, which includes contracted services, mentoring for the new administrator, and we are moving to a new accounting system. So the price is a little bit higher, Not exorbitant, but it is higher. And we also have to maintain access to SoftWrite, which is our current program now. And transportation is in the last year of a 5-year contract for regular everyday transportation routes to school. That's an increase of $9,484. And we are graciously receiving a truck from the DPW when they get rid of it this year. So we'll have an increase in fuel expenses and maintenance costs. So we've adjusted those as well. Oh, any questions on that budget? No.
I presume we're maintaining access to SoftWrite so that we can do audits, exceptions that.
Yes. And the end of year report, which is the fiscal report, is due in the fall, and we will need that program to be able to complete that report. Right now, we talked about keeping it for 6 months to a year, maybe putting it on a local server after that. But for the first year, we need access to it. And, regular access.
But that license at some point will become enough.
Yes. And we can put it on a server, right?
It's a cost.
We can cost it up. Okay.
So what was the percentage increase in transportation last year? Do you remember? Like
4. Oh, dollar-wise?
it was 4%.
Yeah, it was
basically.
4%. So the contract was 2.5, 2.5,
Yeah.
4, 4, 4.
Okay.
So last year it was 4% as well.
Okay. So is this contract another 4-year contract?
This is the end
just-
of 27, in June of 27
4. Oh, I see. Okay.
will be the end of the current contract.
Okay.
So we'll be putting out bids for a new contract probably before the end of the year next year.
Right.
See if we get any interest bids.
Is there other contract other than Dufour? Any other game
There
in town
are.
other than Dufour? Or
There
no?
are. They're not local,
Okay.
but there are other services. But Dufour is the main one here.
Right. In town. Okay.
Good.
Okay. Next.
Operation. It's me.
Oh.
He's not getting rid of me yet.
Okay. Sorry.
Look, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Operations and maintenance is our buildings, our custodial staff, utilities, grounds, equipment, all of that maintenance. And our custodial staff has remained the same really since I've been here. We have 6 staff members at LMMHS with 5.5 total FTE. 1 is a half-time. And at Morris, we have 4. All 4 are full-time. And our facilities coordinator, who started a couple years ago, in addition to his head custodian position, is moving into his 3rd year in this 27 budget. So last year's budget was 1,311 million. This year is 1,362, an increase of just under 4%, or $50,000. 51 if you want to round it up.
The facilities coordinator is a stipend position.
Yes.
And what's that stipend?
14,750 this year. So the total request is 1.362, 3.86 increase. Salaries, a small increase of just under 10,000, or 1.47%. This is moving people along in their steps, monitoring overtime, which we've had some success with this year. So it's a Not a bad increase at all, really. Overtime is a big ticket item, but when the buildings are being used by outside groups, they're the ones paying the overtime rate. When it's done for us, it comes out of our operating. Supplies and services, an increase of $7,000. Supplies are totaling $51,000 in this new budget, and rubbish removal $26,000. Not huge increases in either. Supplies, inflationary increase, and the rubbish removal is a contractual increase. Equipment maintenance, same sort of thing. We have an increase of $3,400, which is 68%, large percentage, small dollar number, but it's because we're acquiring an additional vehicle.
It could be a lemon.
Let's hope not. Tom's so excited, I don't know.
Is to give it back.
We have 30 days to give it, send it back.
Yes. Grounds and any projects with the grounds, equipment, and subs, 3.91% decrease. Subs are used when necessary, but typically the work is done by, we have the part-time person at LMMHS who's been picking up the additional hours. So he picks those up. It's not overtime until he gets past 40. So it's helped us out with our sub costs. I mean, it's still a sub cost per se, but buildings, we have an increase of $24,000, which is substitute costs in the building and maintenance of systems, security, roofs, as well as supplies. And a good portion of this is the roofs, so we can just keep them going until we get to the bigger projects. We didn't bump that up a bit. I think from 6 to almost 10 for each building.
Have we had that in CapEx in the past, or can we put it in CapEx?
The nature of the work would make you think it's capital, but some of it's a leak here that costs $1,000. It's a leak there that costs $2,000. Doesn't quite fit the bill.
Call it an actual roof repair.
If we did a whole section, we could put it.
If we had a few more leaks.
Yeah. If we got a lot more leaks, we could do that.
Because we do also have in CapEx roof repair money, but that's for the bigger.
That's for the bigger, yes. Utilities. I know you stand up here, you're not cold. Utilities. 5% is what the town has asked us to use as an increase. I took the 5% off of actuals, not budgeted, which helps reduce it a little bit. So that's been increased, but that's been estimated, but the increase is only $7,500 there. Which does save a little bit in the budget, because you can't budget to the dime, and if we're low, you have to add. If we're a little above, then we can reduce it some with the 5%. So that's how that was calculated.
Can I ask a question about the truck?
Yes.
The truck, the retired truck from DPW, that is for the facilities maintenance person?
It's for facilities. The maintenance person will use it to go back and forth between buildings.
Within a school day?
Within a school day.
So does the truck stay on property?
Yes.
It does not go home with the facility maintenance
No.
if there's an emergency? in the
No.
weekend or-
And it can be used by others in the district if necessary. We have borrowed a DPW pickup
Yes.
to bring our crew boats to regattas. So this will help reduce that. If it's here on the weekend, that would also be available for use that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other questions? So here are the categories. Everything is very personnel related. Usually the biggest cost in a department. So $767,000 for personnel, both schools, and the coordinator. Utilities are at about 350. Buildings maintenance and needs 200,000. Grounds 33. We do have a company who comes and does the grounds outside of our staff, and that does come from capital projects. We use that for the repair of the fields and things of that nature. And equipment 8750. Any questions?
Let's just
Thank you.
Thank you.
do the guys and go. Just do this to be good. Where I can find what's a question in a tap. Somebody else, the good stuff.
It's Director McLeod with the technology.
They stop the right now. Yeah,
That is telling me this is all different. Power list.
still time work. So that's the accounts fixing it. How?
Hi, everyone. My name is Randy McLeod. I'm the Technology Director for Lenox Public Schools. Today, we're going to go over our budget, and unfortunately, it's a little bit higher than Melissa's, so it's a tough act to follow. But I did want to go over especially what is called E-rate, which is our federal funding, because I wanted to really explain to you what kind of money we get from that and how it all works, because it can be very confusing, even to me sometimes, going through this, even though I've been going through this for probably 10, 15 years. They do change some things sometimes, but I really wanted to explain to you how all of that works. So go ahead, Melissa, the next slide. So our increase this year, our 2026 final budget was 456. This year it's going to be 485. So this is our operating budget. So we've got $28,468 for a 6.23% increase. So our increases from this year are contractual increases. Power School University is our student information system, which does all of our grading, all of our where teachers go in to do their grading. We also do state reporting from there, and state reporting it changes quite a bit on what things are being state reported on. Lily, who is my application support person, she took that over last year, doing all state reporting. So because it's coming from Power School University offers a lot of different courses on that state reporting. And they also offer, a lot of times teachers will say, well, I want to do this in Power School, but we can't do that. Well, some of these courses that she takes actually show different ways to do things with different modules that people have used. So it's a really great kind of gathering of the minds when it comes to Power School. So that's an increase there. Our internet services actually went down. We were able to hopefully get our 5-year contract to be able to get that decrease of cost. Our software renewals, they're projected at 4.07. It's very tough to do software renewals and give you an exact number right now because we don't really put the purchase orders in until July. People really don't give us quotes now. They can, but a lot of the times they only last for 90 days. So we kind of always just say 4 or 5% increases for software. So that could be lower, but that's really where we try to put that number. Firewall and wireless licensing. All right, so not to get too technical, but the firewall is pretty much the main piece of your internet hardware, and then wireless licensing. In the past, we've used E-rate to do that. So we would get a reimbursement of E-rate funds to be able to lower that cost. Now, what I'd like to do now, instead of doing that, because we're going to eat up our entire E-rate budget on a project that I'm going to discuss later, I'd like to do it yearly. So we know what the cost of the firewall is going to be per year, and we know what the cost of our wireless licensing is going to be per year. Now, a lot of the times we might say, well, why don't we do a 3-year licensing to try to get it down? But technology is changing so rapidly. We're already in the 4th year of our wireless equipment. I don't want to get a 3-year or 4-year, and next thing you know, we need to start upgrading that. So I try to be careful, especially with the firewall, because that's on its 4th year as well. So I'd like to do that yearly, and that is the cost of that to do it yearly. So that is an increase as well. Does that part make sense for the operating budget? Go ahead.
There's something to just to
interject. I've asked Melissa and Randy to figure in the internet services at a 5-year contract because it is about $1,000 less a month if we do it that way. We, the administration, do not have the authority to do anything over a 3-year budget. So in a future meeting, we will ask if you would be willing to, you have the authority to do a 5-year. And if we do the 5-year, we have all of that savings. So assuming that you'd be amenable to that, this reflects that savings. If you decide that you want to do a 3-year, we'd adjust it up.
Thanks. So, this is what I'm currently dealing with in our schools. Now, these silver things are called switches. This is all of these connect everything. Like they connect our printers, they connect our wireless, they connect our phones, they connect all of our equipment. So you can imagine, so I've got this one switch that's sideways, so I'm trying to, see the lights and figure it out. I got one that's upside down, trying to figure that out. And then I've got, like that fifth picture there, the one in the middle. Now, switches go every once in a while, right? Like I probably went through about 3 or 4 since I've been here because our switches are 10 years old, so they're starting to fail. Think about how I would get one of those switches out to replace it. It's impossible, and it shouldn't be like this. I think this is just years of, oh, wait, I got a new thing I got to put in, and they just go ahead and they put it in. And this gives me like a lot of anxiety every time that I go into these rooms and these closets. But the amount of work that it would take to, you can't like fix this. You have to literally take it all down and start over. There's really no good way to fix these things. So I just wanted to show you my what I have to deal with when someone says, hey, this port's not working in my room, this printer's not working right. And I go, okay, I don't know where it goes. Okay, so go ahead. That's just a funny, terrible slide there. That's it. Okay. So for our capital requests, we always do 6th and 9th grade Chromebooks. So new 6th graders coming in, and then 8th grade from last year, they get new Chromebooks. This was the first year that we did cases for the Chromebooks. And I have to tell you, it's done wonders. Now, we have had some damage in the cases. However, all parents signed off stating that they will pay for damages because the laptops can stay in the bag 100% of the time, even if they were to be charged. They flip open in the case. The only damage that we had is when kids, you could tell that they've taken it out of the case. And the parents agreed, so we did get money for that. So I'd like to continue doing the cases because it's certainly helping. And at some point, we're hoping that, I think, a 6th grader now will have that bag, and hopefully they'll be able to continue to use that bag throughout. But part of it is, okay, do we reuse those bags? Maybe we'll have some bags to reuse, but a lot of them are, if they've been used for 6 years, they're probably not going to be in the best of shape. But it's still a small cost, but I just wanted you to know that it's definitely has helped the 6th and the 9th grade. And in general, our laptop damage has gone down this year. Marcus over at the middle and the high school and Jeremiah have backed me up. When I get a laptop in, if it's just a drop, okay, that's one thing. Your kid's going to drop a machine, it's fine. But some of the machines that we get back look like they've been, thrown off the Empire State Building. So he's been backing me up where I would go to a parent and say, hey, listen, we've always given you one, but this is like physical damage, and I can't in good faith with taxpayer dollars just give the student another one. So we've been pretty successful in that too. I would say about 95% of the time parents are paying for those as well. So that's really been beneficial. We have never done a renewal cycle for the elementary school. So the elementary school has always gotten hand-me-downs. So whatever the high school had, we just gave them those. But at this point, those are starting to get old as well. So what we'd like to do is try to replace a grade per year so we can get them on an actual renewal cycle too. Some of the laptops that we're using, especially for MCAS, they're smaller. And so when you're taking the test on the MCAS with a smaller device and you've got a split screen, it's kind of difficult to manipulate. So what I've liked to do, moving forward too, is either getting a 13 or 14-inch device moving forward, just so they've got the screen real estate to be able to take those tests. So this is going to be confusing. So please stop me on anything when I start to discuss this whole redo for our switches and our networking.
Yeah, hold that mission.
Go ahead.
So that $24,000 renewal cycle for the Morris Code that's one grade level.
That's one grade.
So that will be
and 2 cards.
And that's not something we'll see annually until we're
That's
caught
correct.
up. Okay.
Yep. That's what I'm hoping. 60 around? Yeah. 20 per grade.
And not
Good question. So this $191,000 number, this is the replacement of all the 10-year-old switches that we currently have. It's also replacing some of the racks, because in some of the locations, the racks, which is where all the network kind of equipment goes into, it's not designed right, and you really can't get to it as easily. The wires are being strung over. We'd really like to do this project right. So all of the replacement racks, all of the cabling, battery backup, so UPSs. All right, so you've got UPSs that are in every cabinet, which is basically if the power goes out, the UPS batteries will come on and they'll take that power, so you don't really lose anything, especially for phones and things like that. So batteries are changing. So the old batteries were the what's the technology for the old batteries? I forgot what they're called. But now they're moving to lithium ion. Lithium ion batteries last about 10 years. Right now, our batteries last about 3 to 5 years that we have. So the cost of the UPSs are a little bit more, but the batteries last a lot longer. And in some of these locations where I'm trying to replace a battery backup right now, because of the way that the closets are, I might have a battery backup mounted to a wall, and the battery weighs about 90 pounds to 100 pounds. And I'm literally trying to go this way because it's not mounted correctly. So in some of these racks, it'll be this way, so I'll be able to pull it out easier. Like I'm strong, but I'm not, that strong to be able to lift that much. And also in that cost is the labor to do this. We'll go over this in much more detail in the next couple of slides. $50,000, I put a star next to this because currently in a lot of the locations, and you're not going to understand this, but it's okay, we will. Copper connections going in from closet A to closet B. We'd like to move over to fiber. It's about 10 times faster between the connections, and it's just more, in my opinion, more reliable. So that is estimated as well, because we really don't know exactly what the distances are going to be between the locations. You might say, well, if I walk it, it's only 200 feet, but we don't know how to string it where it's going to go through. It could be twice that amount. So we don't really know exactly how much the fiber is going to be, but that's a really good estimate of those installations. So that's why it was starred like that. So this 2026, that's 241. This will be where that 191 and that 50, that's going to equal our, right? Is that, yeah. So they've got their 241 there, and I'll show you that as well afterwards. So that 241 is going to be out of this year's 2026 capital budget.
it's in the improvement document that we're working on, yes.
But it fits within what the money that we have available for this year.
Yes.
What was the amount that we earmarked at this point last year?
180 or 180, or just for capital.
Yeah.
This budget. I believe we only had the devices for tablet. Did you have anything else? In your list, what watched you?
I have to all copy this.
It's vehicle.
And then we had to do all new windows. New math. That's second.
So it was much smaller because this is a huge.
And so I'm just wondering, we had a plan to spend $400K in this year, almost none of which was this. So if we still have 241 to spend on this, then what didn't we spend?
I have to go back to look, but argument generally with the ESSER funding, and that took a lot of the monies that were earmarked for the playground and took away that need to spend operating for capital months and then left it there and got into issues. And we have a list. We talked mostly about roofs last year, but the next year that we began is the smaller items have been purchased, done with what the larger projects.
And then the 2027 request is the Chromebooks, so 60,000 plus the 24,000. That is the request for 2027. Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty. All right, so please.
What?
It's your when you install new switches, I'm presuming that there will be a saving and labor cost with respect to responding out.
So I'm the one that responds to outages. So the thing about this is actually it's going to lower energy costs. I can tell you that because the original network person that did this, they did a switch for every single thing, like a phone switch, a switch that did this and that. So now we're going from like 3 switches in one location down to 1, and they're much more energy efficient as well. But when it comes to when a switch goes down like that, it takes me 8 hours to replace because I've got to go in and do that. So now it'll just be a disconnect, plug in, and you're good to go.
Now the corresponding improvement in.
Yes, there will be too. Yep. Because I don't think we've ever really had like that kind of like network diagnostics or anything kind of done where with the new switches, we're able to do that a lot easier because we can actually see everything in a portal. How is the wireless connection? How is this connection? Is there an issue here? And then we can get emails generated automatically too if something goes wrong, if someone plugs something in that they shouldn't be, which is good. Okay, so E-rate. So we receive federal funding. It is a discount for schools and libraries. They call it a budget. Okay, so every school system has a budget, and it is based on your student population. Our budget for this year, well, it's every 5 years, so this is a new year cycle, which is great. The timing is awesome. It's $201.57 per student. Okay, so that's when you think of budget, that word budget, that is how much we're budgeted for E-rate each year. Pre-K is not included in that budget. I think our pre-K number is 14.
How it's been.
Okay. So it's not huge, but it could be in certain school systems. The discount of how much you get reimbursed is based on free and reduced lunch numbers. So in Lenox, we have a 60% reimbursement. Okay. And again, I'll make this make much more sense when we keep going. And again, it's a 5-year cycle. There's 2 different categories in E-rate. Category 1 is our internet services. That is what we pay to Spectrum currently. That is fully funded. There is no budget on that. So when I say fully funded, I just mean that there's no $201 per student. If your internet costs $100 a month, you're going to be paying $40 a month. Okay, there's no budget. The budget comes in when we talk about the stuff that we need to do. So category 2 is your networking equipment. That's what we're trying to do. With the approved funding, and these numbers, our 754 students are based on the October SIMS report. So this is what we said to the state of how many students that we have. So that 201 times 754 gives us our $151,983. That is our budget. That's what we can use for E-rate. Now, I don't want you to think that we have $151,000 that E-rate's going to give us. That would be 100% of the budget. We only get 60% of the budget. So our total E-rate budget, that number above, is $151,983. E-rate pays 60% of that. So we're getting close to $100,000 from E-rate to pay for this particular project. So then we pay 40% of that at $60,000. Okay? Does E-rate make sense, the numbers wise? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple things.
Yeah.
So it definitely looks like it's based off of all students, not just in-district head count.
Yeah.
So everybody gets counted in. You also said it's on a 5-year cycle.
Yes.
So it gets recalculated every 5 years, so we can count on this amount for the next 5 years, even if we have additional students. That
We
come in.
could, but because we're taking that whole budget that they're giving us and spending it on 1 year, we wouldn't have that.
Okay.
Right?
This funding again for 5 years.
Okay.
Because if you have smaller projects and broke it up, you can break it up over 5 years. Whereas on a large project, you're going to get it year one, and not for 4 years. He's got the 6th year starts over.
And you might say, well, what happens if we need another, something big again? Well, hopefully we've already done our wireless. That was a big thing. If we do our switching, that's the other big thing. And that's really all that E-rate will pay for anyway. So when this is all over and we're now going into our 6th year, who knows if the wireless will have to be, it's constant. That's unfortunate, but so you're right. If it was yearly, numbers would increase. But again, if you're only increasing by 20, you're looking at what, $2,400, and then 60% back.
Right.
So
And if it went the other way too, decreases aren't going to affect us either. We're going to have this allocated for it. And so with our infrastructure that we're going to be looking on, which needs to be done anyways, by the sound of it.
yes.
Just rough estimate. Of course, I know you don't have these numbers at hand, but, year over year, what are we seeing at increase of costs for, switches and fiber optics cables and things like that? Because I'm sure the price is not going down.
No, it is not going down, and it's hard to get stuff now. Not so much, even fiber cabling now, and that's really because of all the AI big projects that are going on. Even Chromebooks are getting tough to get because they can't get the parts. They can't get the processors anymore. They can't get the RAM. So things like that are starting to go up exponentially because of all these large data center projects. So yes, it's only going to increase.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at a switch, you're hoping the switch lasts about 10 years. That's how much you can get out of the switch. That's what we got out of our last ones. Networking does change a lot, but it's like, okay, I put a wireless access point in and it can do 1 gig. Great. Well, maybe the new one can do 2 gigs. Well, maybe I'm not even using that 1 gig. So yeah, that's cool and it can be faster speeds, but it's that kind of stuff. Because when we originally first looked at our switches, it was twice as much because the vendor was trying to push this thing called Smart Rate, which doubles your bandwidth and all. I'm like, that's great, but we're not even really utilizing the full bandwidth of what we currently have. Mm-hmm. So I can't see us going, okay, spending twice as much. Yeah, cool, but you're not really getting anything out of it. So I didn't really want to do that.
Right.
That makes sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
And again, even with new AI and things that are coming into the school and changes that are going to be happening there, you're very confident that, the infrastructure that we're going to have in place is going to be able to, suit our capabilities.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that would be in the difference in years is wireless, but again, it's just really all speed. That's usually what they do. But we're not seeing any kind of constrictions or throttling with our wireless. I think we replaced it 3 years ago and it's still running very strong. I haven't had a single issue with one of our wireless.
access phones. That's great.
It really, pardon me, what you're saying, we should be paying attention also to any anticipated capital projects in the school building, because any capital project in the school building could have necessitated a redesign of the network. And
You mean when they put like another?
if the building were reconfigured somehow, or if there were a major addition,
Sure.
I was presuming we would have to redesign that.
Not really. Like if they put an extension onto the high school, the only thing you really need is a fiber connection running from one of our closets to that. So not really a whole redesign, but you would need more switches and more wireless and more whatever else that you want put in for technology. Sure. Yeah, but not a total redesign. Unless you redesigned some area that had switching and had a wires going into it.
Again, and then we won't have another discounted deal on wood.
Correct.
So, no.
Yep.
Thanks.
But then again, all of our stuff that we're looking at doing would be good for those 5 years.
Yeah.
And category 1, internet assembly,
Ignite.
you get it in a year. It's not
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no cycle. That just keeps going.
discount for that.
Yeah.
Isn't,
That's
it's not later, yes.
students or institution. That's OpEx, not standards.
It's,
Okay, so here's how our switching project breaks down for this year. The networking equipment, just the equipment alone, is $182,000. We take that $182,000. Now again, we only have a $151,000 budget for E-rate. Okay, so you have to subtract that 182 from 151 to get 30 because you got to pay 100% of that difference. Okay. So now out of that 151,000, we're still responsible for $60,000 of that. Okay. So our total equipment cost, just the equipment, is going to be $91,000. Does that make sense? That's great. The cabling, the battery backups, the racks, the jumpers, all of like the miscellaneous equipment to get all these things interconnected is around $40,000. The labor to install this is about 350 hours worth of work because you saw what needs to be done. That's at $60,000. I'm going to try my best to help the person that's doing the work to try to lower the cost of the labor rate, but I have my own stuff to do, but I'm going to try. So we're going to hopefully get that cost down, but I cannot promise that. And then the new fiber runs for $50,000. So our total cost out of pocket for this project is $241,024. I hope I made sense because I know it can be very confusing.
That was very clear.
Yeah.
Who does the work? So is this something HP Aruba comes in? Is we have a local contractor?
So to also save money, the award went to Intrasystems. They had the best pricing. And the interesting thing about E-Rate, when you put out your bid for E-Rate and you say that I want HP equipment, and I don't know why, but they do this, and to me it's not fair. But whatever vendor reaches out, let's say Intrasystems, they reached out to HP and they got preferred pricing. So a lot of the times when these vendors get preferred pricing, a lot of other vendors won't even bid on it because they know that they can't beat that pricing. So with Intrasystems, normally they'd have to send somebody out. But what they're going to do is subcontract a local provider who I've dealt with before to actually do the work so that they're not paying for the overnights. They're not paying, because that's a lot of time in hotels and all that kind of stuff. So we're saving money that way by them using a subcontractor that does local work, which is great. So here's a breakdown of our budget increases. We've got our salaries. The PD, again, that was for our Power School University.
Our software increases. Our network maintenance, that is where we put in for our wireless and we put in for our firewall. And there's a difference there because that used to be E-rated. Now it's not. So that's that's the increase. And then the overall increase is the bottom.
So those would be my one other question. You said at the beginning they're saying that we're coming off of E-rate. But it's not category 1. What other ongoing category?
Category 2 covers your firewall. And they covered our wireless licensing. So those were what was included in our E-rate fund.
Okay, so in prior years we were just using that because we had it.
Yeah. And I hate that they do 5-year because you either do 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year. It's great if they did 5 year, but if you did 3 years, then you're kind of overlapping on that second, so it gets very confusing.
Okay. And so, just to clarify, for our purposes, all of the capital related to the big project is already approved. That project is underway. What we will be voting on this year to send to town meeting in the capital plan would only be the $84K for the Chromebook renewal.
Yeah, it's not in the way. The E-rate
In the figurative sense that we have a contractor.
processing for bidding is outside of us.
Yeah.
So, yes, that will, the 241, 26, provided that we can still fit the other stuff into it. And then the 84 is times.
I also gave the vendor, when we did our E-rate, I said, giving them 15 months to install it, really just for time wise, with this stuff being down. But I also don't know how many things are going to be back ordered, all of these things, because with E-rate, let's say, why don't we buy an extra switch? Just that. You can't when it comes to E-rate. You have to have it plugged in and use. So I'm trying to be very careful in making sure that there's enough time to get this all spread out. So if something's back ordered for 6 months, and it's there. So I was really hoping it's a summer project and it's all done, but it's just not going to be possible. So there's times that during what I really packed out. It's February vacation these things. So yeah. Okay, one more. How? That's what it's supposed to. So you can actually disconnect it, put things back in.
Makes sense.
Is that AI generated?
No, that's a real picture from the internet.
Just not from Lenox.
No. Right. Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. All right. Brenda is up for the next 2 presentations, starting with curriculum budget and then the elementary budget. And Holly sends her regrets. There were some family issues that preclude her from being here. So Brenda has stepped in. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
And friends. I do get I'm just get the pin of order gets.
So, thank you for allowing me to present this department. It's a new department to Lenox, and this budget will strengthen our multi-tiered system of supports. It will help us better align curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and intervention to support the child. Part of the curriculum department is our mentoring program, and we have some fabulous educators up on the slide. That is our mentoring leadership team. They have worked together over the past 3 years in creating and refining our mentoring and induction program for new staff. Part of what we worked on over the past 3 years is updating our mentoring handbook. We've created quick referencing guides for both schools. I will be working on putting up our mentoring information on the district website and refining our new teacher orientation. And another goal that we started this year is creating a para-mentoring program for our paraprofessionals who work in both schools. We also have our mentoring program, which are, we have mentors within both schools, both at Morris and LMMHS. And our mentoring program is designed to build strong relationships and a supportive and professional culture for our new staff members. We have full day new teacher orientation. We also have mentoring meetings throughout the year. We offer some professional development for our new teachers. Most recently, the mentoring, each of our administrators were able to go and our new teachers asked us questions. It was a little collaborative time. So that falls under the curriculum department as well. Included in this budget this year is the professional learning that we have throughout the calendar year. This budget will include the opening day activities, November professional development program, and also some mentoring professional development. It is important to keep investing in professional development. There's new research that comes out year to year, and it's always important to bring those best practices back into the district. Falling under the curriculum department also is our licensing, some supplies, and some instructional resources. Mainly Panorama, which is our student data dashboard. Panorama is helps teachers look at the whole child. It has attendance, behavior, students' academics. And recently, Panorama also has developed a way to give us some insights on children. So if there is a student who may be falling below benchmark because it syncs with our Power School Nightly, staff can go in and get some suggestions and some pointers on how to help that student. Here are the budgeting costs. Part of the salaries has decreased. We've moved mentoring stipends into the Title II grant for this coming year. You will see professional development has increased. We like to bring in presenters. Many of them have presented nationally, and so that is an increase each year. So that has gone up a little bit. And you'll see a decrease in our licensing. When we started with Panorama, there was an initial cost in getting that up and running, but now year to year, that cost it's not something that we have to pay. I also just want to thank the school committee and the town of Lenox for supporting the middle school interventionists. We have already seen student growth. Their small groups are fluid, is what you want it to be. So if a student is improved, that student is out of intervention, and we have new students joining the intervention. So I just want to thank you so much for supporting the middle school interventionists. We are already seeing students, as I said, growth in both ELA and math. And that is it for the curriculum. Any questions?
So just to clarify, where you compared last year to this year, the last year number is the equivalent costs so the 256,957 is what exists currently in other departments if we were looking apples to apples.
Yes.
Yes. So a lot of the mentoring stipends were individually in LMHS and Morris. We combined, and Title IIA is for professional teacher quality, professional development. So we moved a lot of that out of into Title IIA. So that's why you're seeing the decrease there.
And the decrease in the licensing is mostly Panorama, but mentoring supplies, 2,000 would go to Title 2A.
I'm not trying to understand the configuration of the software thing. Could we say we would talk about having a audit management system and then we would have student records? Is that what you're talking about here? Or one that's really the interface and the other one is the database?
So Panorama actually can do both. It is our database, but it also can give teachers resources on how to increase a students' learning in a specific area.
But if you needed to see a student's academic records like that, for instance, when
That-
you're on to college,
so
that would be
You can go to Power School, that holds that as well. Power School holds all their grades, but Panorama also syncs with Power School every night, so the academic piece is in Panorama as well.
okay. Yes.
We good? Yeah.
And this is at the, when you said that learning management system, we use Canvas for that. So Canvas, we do that for our learning management system, and then all those grades get imported into Power School. But then with Panorama, it's just one more level, so we're really able to dive deep into the data and use some option data kids, where they're at in interventions.
So Canvas is really the benefit.
Canvas is our learning management system. Panorama is another. Thanks.
As Dr. Collins mentioned, Assistant Principal Souls wasn't able to be here this evening. However, she did develop a fantastic presentation, so I just want to acknowledge her for that. This is the Morris Elementary School mission statement. We are committed to providing a wide continuum of learning opportunities that value individuals, maximizing both skills, knowledge, enhance self-esteem, and produce responsible lifelong learners. Here's a little snapshot of our students at Morris. We currently have 323 students, pre-K through 5th grade. Of the 323 students, 51 students are on IEPs. We have 28 IEPs in pre-K to 2 and 23 with students in grades 3 through 5. That may change as the year goes on, as we are constantly looking at students and assessing where need be. We have 18 students on 504 plans, 96 students who receive Title I services, 53 in ELA, 43 math, and 27 students receive both ELA and math, and we have 12 English language learners. As you can see, we have a very strong community. We reach out and we have a strong partnership with the town of Lenox and Berkshire County. These are all community organizations who either have been to Morris or have supported Morris Elementary School in some sort of fashion. We are in year 3 of our PBIS, Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. We continue to strengthen our Tier 1 practices. This year for our Tier 2 students, we have created a check-in and check-out program. This program provides targeted daily support for students who benefit from additional structure, consistency, and positive adult connection. Our Tier 2 team meets regularly to review student progress. We discuss individual needs and adjust plans as necessary. We also meet and celebrate all our students' success and growth. Our PBIS works to support students' well-being. It strengthens relationships within Morris, and it creates a positive school culture. We have some fantastic specialists. Each of the Morris budget is broken up into different departments. And so we have the PE department, our physical education. Morris students are very lucky. They receive PE 2 times a week. We have a fantastic music program as well. There is chorus offered in the morning. We have band for students in grades 4 and 5. And music is taught pre-K through 5th grade, which a little side note, as a reading specialist, music is great for teaching students how to read fluently. So I'm very excited to have all the benefits of music at Morris. We also have technology class. Our students in pre-K, in pre-K through 5th grade participate in tech class. They start off learning about digital literacy, moving right up. I was in a 3rd grade tech class the other day, and the students were coding and building games to help as an adult or a child who may have a disability. So the students were one particular group. They were moving their little icon with their foot, and they programmed that all by themselves. So the kids were super excited about that. We have a fantastic art program where Miss Stahl teaches about art history, and we offer Spanish starting in pre-K up to 5th grade. And we also have some fantastic clubs happening at Morris. These clubs that are up on the screen, they are either before or after school clubs that are offered at Morris. We have our 3rd grade Audubon Society that is starting shortly, and at the end of the year, the students get to go to Pleasant Valley and do a little canoeing. That's super exciting for them. And 5th grade is also starting to learn their Shakespeare play, and they'll be presenting that in April. And we can't forget about Teddy, our awesome comfort dog. He's always at work at Morris. And so this year's FY 2027 budget, you will see a decrease in the administrative cost that is moving some of the administrative salary over to the curriculum department. And then there is some $25,000 in grants that are there. And then the rest of the Morris budget is our contractual obligations and a small portion of supplies.
So for the first 2 items, the accounting revisions, the school adjustment counselor was falling into that. We kept that position in the guidance department. Guidance is separate from adjustment counselors, and the person in the position reports to the special student services director. So with all the other revisions we were doing, we decided we would fix that this year. It's always been guidance, but should be at the student services. And when I report to the state about all expenses, you have to separate out student services, special education services. I know we do that, but it's better to have it separated, and so anyone can come in and see what their expenses are. And the $25,000 is Title I grant is basically salaries. We have an interventionist, and we have 3 Title I support interventionists. The certified position is anticipated to move a column which has increased more than typical the salary of that position, which will eat away from some of the salary for the support interventionists. So I had to add back in $23,000 into the Unit C position and to operating fund Title I.
and 2,000 from time on to operating supplies for grades 1 through 5. If we can, if my prediction, grants reduce a little bit of the year, and with this increase, we had to reduce what was where we had to move Parnell into the audit because we were so grant to cover a full 1.0 support interventionists and full 1.0 super interventionists. So that's what those first two items are.
And so we don't have all school adjusted counselors reaching the same.
Yes. Did you have a question?
I presume when we talk about the middle school and the high school, we'll talk about the say if this was suspected,
Yes.
or if it's that also included in.
No, this is solely more celebratory like this one.
So you can see the Morris budget, the majority, 91% goes to the instruction for students. And then there's a small administrative portion, a small professional development, and then pupil services. But the majority of our budget goes to educating the students.
And pupil services include the health service department, and transportation outside of the general need transportation, like summer school.
Did you?
Any questions?
Guess that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Slides. Brian Kelly will present the student services.
Thank you.
So thanks. I'm Brian Kelly. I'm the Director of Student Services, and I'm pleased to present an overview of the department. So some of that fluctuates year to year, and then just to talk a little bit about the numbers in the budget. So you can go to the next slide. So just for an overview, we're, for a small district, in a small department, we have quite a few services that we offer, and I break them down here for you to see. For special educators, we have 10 special ed teachers, 2 special ed pre-K teachers, 4 school adjustment counselors, 1 school psychologist, 2 speech and language pathologists, and 2 EL teachers. And then we also can do contracts with quite a number of other providers. And we're lucky that we do have what's called the 240 grant and the 262 grant. It's not a ton of money, and it does only go up incrementally each year. So we sort of are able to add some personnel and sort of offset some things with some grant money. The 240 grant this year was $256,000, and the early childhood 262 was $8,723. Those I can use to sort of, the bulk of it does go towards some of these other providers, such as OT, the PT providers, the board certified behavior analyst, and then some vision specialists, orientation and mobility, and any other people that we contract maybe in the summertime that aren't on our payroll. It does take up a very large chunk of that grant. The remaining, we usually try to put some money to offset tuitions, to out-of-district placements, a little bit maybe for transportation, and then some supplies and some stipends, and then a little bit possibly for professional development. I give you that quick overview just to let you know that with the personnel that we have, just some of the needs are increasing year over year. And I try to offset those costs as much as I can within the grant money. But the behavior needs and such for students who have some difficulty, especially in the younger years, especially some of the kids that are coming to us who are nonverbal, who have a lot of needs, sort of maybe with sort of analyzing sort of chain of behavior and sort of how do we help those kids learn different skills. We're using a board certified behavior analyst a lot for that. We have a fantastic person on staff that we contract with. As we continue to sort of expand some of those services, it's eventually, I'm just giving you an overview, going to start to eat up more and more of the grant. And so there's only so much that I can put into there until we start looking at how does that impact everything overall, because we don't put any of that in the operating budget. So those are additional people that we have on staff. We do a whole lot of our services within the classrooms, and then we have a lot of paraprofessional support. We have 20 some odd paraprofessionals who are very instrumental in providing services in the classrooms to students, along with those special education teachers who are both in and out of classrooms. The adjustment counselors, as they told you, and I'll have another slide later, are now fully incorporated under student services. And then our other parts of our budget incorporate 504 services, the ELL services, and then out-of-district placement coordination, as well as the McKinney-Vento Act, which the homeless coordinator, I serve in that role. And so we do sort of service those small portions of students who sometimes are experiencing homelessness and may need transportation or other services under that umbrella to sort of remain in school without any interruption. So this is just a little slide showing some of the variety of services and such that students are involved in. So just to highlight, when we really support really the whole child, we create schools where students with disabilities experience not just access to learning, but joy, belonging, and purpose. So this is some statistics, and I try to give this to each year, and eventually I start losing some of the other past years as we keep increasing, but it's sort of a long view look historically where numbers were with students with disabilities in the past. So like in 2021, the number of students identified were 69 at 9% of the entire enrollment. And in 25-26, currently that number is at 99 and close to about 12%. So there has been an increase, and you can see how that's trended over the last number of years. It's been fairly stable within the last 3 years or so. When I came in, it was definitely close to around 10. This is my 4th year, and it's sort of cropped up to about 12%. So this is some other service stats. So at section 504 is in the Morris presentation was highlighted. There are 18 students at Morris with 504 plans, and at LMMHS, that number is 59. For EL services, that's sort of broken up a little bit. There are students who are considered getting direct EL services and were found eligible under their access assessments for WIDA. And so we have at Morris, those are 12 students, and at LMMHS, there are 10. And then the additional students that could be serviced, more monitored is likely, are considered former English language learner students, and they're referred to as FEL. And at Morris, there are 7 students who are still being monitored after they exit. And at LMHS, that's 12. And then you can see the out-of-district total currently is 5. And I broke that out a little bit. There are 2 students right now that are in residential placements, 1 private day placement, and 2 people are at a public tuition program. And as you know, that number is always hard to predict, right? So in special education, the law is providing the education in the least restrictive environment. I think we do a fantastic job of really being able to tailor make a lot of services and supports for students. But there may come a time when we either A, don't have the service or program based on the unique disability that a student may have, or that we've done all we can. And if a student is not making progress based on the supports and services we were delivering, it may come to a time where we say the need is sort of beyond our capability. And when we say, where can this actual program happen? It's not here. And then we have to search somewhere else. As you know, when I've talked to you about this before, those numbers are rising sort of exponentially, and our numbers just don't sort of catch up with like the money that sort of offset either by grants or our regular funding. So it's very difficult. It jumped up a couple of years ago, a large increase. It was around 14%. And every year now it's typically been about 3 or 4% increase for those tuitions. And I usually get those new numbers sometime in February, like late February this month or March. I'll sort of usually see the new predicted numbers for the costs of placements.
Brian, what is a public tuition program?
So that's a good question. So sometimes we're able to find a program within our area that has a program that we don't. And then we have a tuition arrangement with that school to have them provide the special ed service. So if we don't have that particular service or program, sometimes we're able to find that. And oftentimes those tuitions aren't as expensive as ones that are the residential placements that are a private placement. So the next few slides, I'm just going to highlight some areas that I've talked about a couple times, but wanted to sort of emphasize. So if you're looking through the budget, where of some things maybe there is like a little uptick. They're not out of hand, but they're numbers that are really supporting students in the department. And so you'll see several of these I broke down. I did include the school adjustment counseling services because you're going to see that, over this year that all that money now is housed under our student service department. Professional development, and I'll talk about it more in depth. We do have our own line. We all decided that instead of this sort of, we get to a certain point and say, geez, we want to provide this really great professional development for the district or your department. And when we're planning it out, we want to make sure we have the funding to do it, that we thought that it would be best to have that in the local budget. I always put some money, again, in the grants to offset some of that, but we really need to have a certain amount of money in there for the PD. The other two really have to do with some of our students who are in the middle school, high school programming, and their sort of access to either life skills, social skills, or really that community sort of transition programming. And we did change the line. Melissa and I looked at it, and for a long time it sort of had said the BCARC, which is Berkshire County ARC, and we were accessing some supportive services for kids in transition. Could be at the end, like when students are 22, getting ready to leave. It might be preparing for like a day hab. It could be pre-employment services, job coaching, all those types of things. And we decided to call that really transition services because it may come from different agencies that we are looking at to support students in those efforts. So this is, we've been really fortunate to have a fantastic relationship with CATA, the Community Access to the Arts. And they work primarily right now with our middle high school students, and are really taking on a fantastic role with, the older students who are pursuing some of this after school and need some transitional programming. We want the students who are sort of gearing up in that way in the 18 to 22 range to have some different experiences than what they would have if they were, exiting after, at 17, 18, right? So it's not the same old. They need to have some programming that's involving what are you going to do with yourself after you leave high school and sort of bridge that to when they exit at 22. And CATA really fills that gap nicely. And so there has been some increase in that money so that the students can participate in a wide range of sort of activities. Some of those are music, art, dance, photography, And they've got some of that is in-house and some of that really also is out at their studios. And so that's a fantastic opportunity for the students. And this was one of their kata sharing days where they put on, their art and their displays and for people. They also come in for the summertime. So we do contract them for the summer, and we're looking to possibly, I talked to them about looking at how do we expand that maybe to bring in something for elementary students. They're great because they get grant funding. And so even when I say I want to do something and we're not sure about how much funding we can use, they do often offset money, reduce the money and find money for us. And so that's the partnership has been great that way. And that they'll, like, even if I say I don't really have that in the budget, they will backfill the money. And so we're fortunate. So we're also involved heavily in, like I said, working in the transition sort of activities. And some of these are experiential field trips, some of this vocational and career-based exploration, making relationships with mass hire, the pre-employment transitional services, and then job coaching and those things, sort of like job shadowing. And this was, they visited mass hire with the students and really start to gear up the students to sort of learn more about what those opportunities are. And so we do put some money aside in a line that, and it's hard also, again, to predict what students are going to need as they start to get into that age range where we're, really supporting that more. Professional development, as the curriculum director, Kelly, was saying, that we have some money that we're now putting in, sort of at a place where we can plan for the whole district. But we are supporting professional development within the department. And a lot of the work has been to continue our work in the multi-tiered system of support. And also with an increase in support for our paraprofessionals. So we have been working very closely with Empower Ed. They've been really great. That partnership is now, I think, in its third year. And we have a consultant that comes and does coaching, works with the teachers on some of the targeted push-in practices. It's really not quite co-teaching, but really try to help them to work with like the general ed teacher there and how do they work together to scaffold and sort of design lessons that are accessible for all the students. And that's been great. And the paraprofessionals got a really fantastic PD this past fall and had several sessions all put on by Empower Ed. Extended school year. You'll see when you look at the budget, there will actually be a little bit of a dip in that line, just because we're looking at a little bit of a different model. So the middle high school has always been, for transitional life skills, has always been a 3-day for 4 weeks model. And this year, the ESY programming is going to go down from 4 for the elementary, from 5. And that 5th day is more of like a field trip experiential day. And I think they're working with the LCC around some of that. So that will actually reduce some of the necessary money that would be, obligated for that 5th day of services. And then again, school adjustment counselors, they provide such a range of services, from whether it's group work, in-class support, collaboration and consultation with teachers, reaching out to families. They really have a wide range of roles in a school. And so I wanted to be able to bring some of this to you, and then I have that in my budget narrative, since that's going to live under the student services at this point. They respond to crises and they collaborate with outside agencies and get people really hooked up with outside agencies when possible. And we all know that that's harder and harder these days to access those sort of local providers because the need is so high.
we have LMHS student adjustment counselors or school adjustment counselors?
2 at each school.
Okay, so it's not just elementary.
Yeah.
So these are just some of the things, just to highlight that they've been putting on. There was a wellness fair. They used a LEAF grant to put that on, and it was really to talk about self-care, wellness, and health. In the past, they've focused a lot on also mental health, and weave that in and bring different people in from the community, bringing in yoga to the schools and partnered with Kripalu. And then this year new is this the Southern Berkshire Community Care Coordination Program, and each of the counselors are working sort of as a liaison to partner with community agents to sort of hook families up to some of these other people. And there's a number of different providers in the community, whether it's healthcare, doctors, whatever it might be, that the school adjustment counselors are then helping to sort of link families to those and communicate between those different people. And so that's sort of new this year. So this is just an overview of the numbers. And as in most of the previous round, right, most of this is going to the contractual and salaries. There's a slight increase in the software. Some of these things are just increases year over year as far as whatever the rate goes up to. Professional development is a similar to last year. Where you really see the money also increase again is the tuition, transportation, and those costs are really hard to predict, and we do our best to manage those. But also we do want to make sure students are receiving the appropriate services and supports in the place that they need to get them. And that's about it. If you have questions.
So the salaries is how much student adjustment counselor moving in?
That would be
Just a little bit remaining, right? Because I think they wrote some at once.
y'all, but we moved this whole like
Got it.
into here, and that is probably 8,000 or so of that increase in the midst of IRPs.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is just the teacher contract?
I tried to keep everything else pretty status quo except for whatever goes up in, as far as inflationary. We are looking, I didn't put it in here. It'll probably be covered under what we're normally requesting as far as money in that department, but we're hoping, just so you have an idea that it's coming, to get digital signature. And I'm hoping that that's going to make it a little bit easier access for families and also for our records and sort of management of on that end. But like as far as we won't have to send out so many like paper IEPs, right? It's like if somebody needs another, like initially, if you send it out, you can send it out and they can digital signature. So I've did the sort of research with that along with technology with Lily to really sort of explore that. And with Power School, we didn't really pull the trigger on it this year, sort of like A, the money, and B, it was just sort of like the timing. And I thought it would be best to sort of like implement in the fall and give people like a real heads up and a primer like around what will happen. But I'm hoping that will cut cost of paper because sometimes we just have to generate more paper. And if people, I think it'll be better for families on the receiving end, because I think that's just the way that people receive those at different times. I think sometimes that's just lost in the shuffle, depending on how that goes. Even when we mail them, it's like people are getting so much mail. And I just think for families to manage some of those documents, it's going to be easier.
Yeah, that's fairly.
So it won't be that's not a large increase either on that end. We also we had a refund we were trying to work with Power School around housing some of the EL information. It just wasn't, they weren't up to speed with that. So we had originally paid for that and then got a refund on that. So instead of doing that at this point, I just figured we would go with the digital signature and then revisit any of the other stuff after.
And the salary line, you were certainly us. Will you be moving columns? And I do believe there's a student in special ed which would increase. So much. We don't.
Okay. Arkham, thank you.
Mike, the next piece of my update is the school choice and enrollment review. And each year you look at school choice, and the decision before you is, do we remain a school choice recipient or not? You have no control over school choicing students out. And if you ever decided not to continue with school choice, everyone who is in stays in through their graduation. So what I provide you is enrollment data so that you can make an informed decision. So this year's a little interesting because of the affordable housing units that are coming in for LMHS. There's between 11 and 12 school-aged children are on the wait list, and we did get ages, but we right now don't have grades. So depending on when their birthday is, not sure exactly which grade they would fall into. So this is very conservative. For LMHS, you can see that looking to take in 2 school choice students in 6 and 2 in 10, and historically you've allowed the latitude based on what's going on and who's coming in. And so there's several things to think about. One is, what is the overall percentage of school choice population? What is the actual size in that grade, that particular class? And then we're looking ahead, depending on what happens as we have discussions with Richmond down the road, making sure that we would have suitable seats for that as well. So being very conservative here, I expect that the more information that I receive in, the more I'll be able to fine tune this and make some adjustments. And you'll see that I haven't made any recommendations for Morris yet. There's 2 different things with the housing. One is in progress, so their application is in progress, and there are six potential students in progress at Morris. The 11 to 12 at LMHS are on the waiting list, so their applications aren't in progress yet. And the other piece of information is that some of these students are already Lenox residents, and we're not sure which of these students are those. So there's still some additional information to know. But where the choice lottery is Wednesday for LMHS, this is right now with the best information that we have where we're at. And recognize every year we adjust right up into the beginning of the next school year. So if something changes, a family moves out, we draw for every grade, prioritized list for every grade, and you'll remember that the state makes a provision for siblings. So if they already have a sibling in the school, then they move to the top of that list. If there are more siblings than there are spaces, then there's a separate sibling lottery, and that is the way. That's the way this is.
But we're only taking
determined.
4 at the high school.
Right now.
The middle high school. Right now.
Now that could change because we continue So what we would do at this point is we'll do the drawing on Wednesday, and then we'd reach out to 2 families in 6th grade and 2 families in 10th grade and say, you're in, we're confident. And then as we get the rest of this information, we would I'd make other determinations as we moved along.
I was surprised to see the incentive coming from the Forge.
Yes.
Inviting the Lenox school students, families and students accepting applications. You get a $500 Visa card. I was under the impression that they have hundreds and hundreds of applications, but yet they're still
They
out there searching for the Lenox families and the Lenox students.
They reached out and asked if we would share that with the
Yeah.
employees and families, and so we have.
Which surprised me because there's so many applications.
And they're forthcoming with information. It's just that we've got to make sure that
Yeah,
we're
good.
asking the right questions.
Right.
I think just one other update related to this, which concerns Richmond. They have kind of asked to slow down any movement forward. There is current legislation under consideration that would help to address their challenge with accounting for all the choice kids they bring in after 8th grade. And so I think everyone still thinks it potentially would make a tremendous amount of sense regardless, but they feel like they would be in a better position once that is resolved. And so with our tuition agreement with them expires this year anyway, we may, if they ask, want to consider doing a sort of 1-year extension so we can revisit it next year. But at this point, there is no influx of Richmond students in the fall to factor into this.
Right. And so, right, and then one of the pieces is to think that in the decisions we make today could be impacted in a year's time when that may be the case.
My one question on the chart was just looking at the kindergarten number, where adding 16 choice kids to what we're estimating would be 24 resident students would leave us at 40, which seems like we'd still be pretty far below any other class, and also well below the 50% in any grade choice threshold. So I didn't know if that was a wait to see or add more in first grade maybe.
So that was wait to see. That was sort of the kindergarten sort of automatic first look, but I haven't delved out because I'm not positive at this point how many of those in progress students may end up being in kindergarten.
It seems almost every year, without the import pausing, we get 2, 3 or more kindergartners when they have students.
Just that aren't indicated by the census for us. So, and again, we don't have any issue, we don't have any problem filling those slots, and so before the Morris lottery, this will be fine-tuned, but again, it can be fine-tuned right up until the start of school. But I anticipate having Morris numbers for you once I can nail down what the actual grade levels will be.
Yeah. Okay. And so you'd be looking for, at this point, approval to fill this number of spots.
So your approval is to continue to be a school of choice or not, and this is the current best thinking on for you to be able to make that determination. And my recommendation would be that you continue to be a school choice recipient. Second, you notice that some grades have a considerably higher number, and that overall looking to sort of maintain where it was when I came in, and that's where we are right now.
So if we vote to go through the school choice, I just want to be clear. I'm understanding this. We would be looking at accepting 4. I understand,
right.
But approximately
Right.
4 people at the high school.
Right.
And that we would only be accepting school choice.
We haven't made the Morris determination yet, other than you see the kindergarten like baseline there, but haven't made.
But all the other zeros for the other grades, choice openings were.
Have not been determined. Once we know, and here's the other piece, is that the affordable housing, they all come in as residents. So it changes the equation and allows us then, if we're looking at trying to have a certain percentage, right? There's 2 factors going on. One is the percentage of choice, and the other is the number of students in the class. So oftentimes we can fit students in the class, but we would be raising that percentage of school choice. In other places, we've got room for school choice, but not a lot of room for the class size.
So do you have in your mind a cap of how many students you'd like to see per grade, and you don't want to go over a certain percentage of school choice? It's like, do you have that in your mind right now? What that?
So there's an old.
For me, it's hard to vote on it if I don't
Sure. So there's an
know the
old.
impact of the classroom.
So there's an old strategic plan that was just a guideline and not hard and fast rules, but it was
50% in any grade, 40% overall.
Right.
So numbers per class will in K2 154.
Yeah.
3 to 5 for 60. Then 6 to 8 order 65, and 9 to 12 is 70.
And then
Sorry, 70.
and then what Orange just added is that, and then trying to be no more than 50% in any grade.
So the number's 50%, no more than 50% school choice
In any one.
in any one grade.
Yeah.
What's the head count at which point you have to decide to open another classroom grade?
So how many students before we need to add another teacher?
Right.
So if you think of this as we have an awful lot of control of the valve of what comes in and out, right? So we control that. What we wouldn't want to do is take in so many more students that now we're hiring another teacher, putting on another section, right? I refer to it as being we're sort of in the sweet spot of our current enrollment is pretty much exactly where we want to be. It allows us to field teams. It allows us to have band and theater and robust, right, programming with the number of students that we have. So we don't want to go much lower. We also don't want to go much higher. And so we sort of control that. So when we say by grade, it is exactly as Amy's just determined for each grade level.
So to Amy's point, you typically see an influx in August, of pre-KK students. But why those 2 particular grades, I don't know. So are you not going to determine the school choice for pre-KK until you see what that influx is?
What I would do, and what I tend to do, is leave just a little bit, and then if we get right before school starts and they don't come, then we make a call and say, hey, congratulations, right? We take 3 more people off of the school choice list for kindergarten that we were sort of leaving in reserve in case they were residents.
But that obligation exists now until they graduate.
Once we take them in, they are here until they graduate.
So an influx of revenues later on is further affect closer classroom beyond what you could be seeing.
But the grade size gets larger as it goes up. That desired size of the class, it's increased from 54 all the way to 7. The kindergarten and
You just had the second housing project approved. that's going in down the road, like less than a mile down the road. So you've got another whole affordable housing project that will be up and running in 2 years. Besides what we're just giving for just
I remember what I was getting.
yeah.
You could see an unexpected growth in resident units.
We
I mean, you don't know, but yeah.
We could.
and again, we control that valve, and we get Chapter 70 monies, which are far more than the school choice money for all those students. We are getting compensated. So when other towns are saying, "Hey, we're sending a lot of students to Lenox," they're getting Chapter 70 money and don't have the student to educate. We're getting $5,000 per student and the student to educate. I do consult the principals with this because it isn't a numbers game alone. Classes have different chemistries. Sometimes there are classes that are have higher needs students in them, and so we want to make the determination so that it's going to be the best experience for the students as they go through. And so we will, again, before any final determination is made, there's a conversation that's had with the principals about what can you, right? Particularly siblings. So the state doesn't want to split families up. So sometimes, even though we say we're full, if a sibling gets in and it means that this family is going to have one child in our district and another child in another district, I will often say to the principal, can this grade take one more student because we've taken the sibling, this person is the only sibling in this grade, and then they can keep the family together. So we try to keep the spirit of the law.
Can I ask about the pre-K? If I'm not mistaken, we haven't taken choice for pre-K before.
So we're not. So this is a very good question. School choice is regulated by the state, and it is K. It's K through 12. Pre-K is not, and the confusion comes from that this coming year, for the first time, what we are saying is, if you have a school choice, if you're already a school choice family with us, a non-resident school choice family, any unfilled seat in pre-K, we will accept applications for. Now, part of the reason we're doing that is because, as I said, the state has a separate provision, siblings go first. So if this is a child that's going to end up in our kindergarten, they're going to be the top of the kindergarten list. So they're very, very likely to get into our kindergarten class. So it's a win-win. We take them, it's tuition, so we get tuition. At the same time, if there are any services that they need, they're getting those services. So they're coming in, and we're providing services and having them better prepared for kindergarten. So it's not. We did have a family send in an application they used a school choice application to apply for pre-K. We just say, well, no, it's not. We are accepting any open seats for pre-existing school choice families. If there are open seats in pre-K, they can apply for tuition.
So this choice open number 6 means you'll only.
I should have to note that that's not a choice number; it's a possible permission.
Okay, that was what was confused. The number 6. Okay, that was okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. No
That's
worries.
confusing. Yeah.
That was confusing me. Yep,
Need a whole new column for this.
makes sense. Okay, all right. Now okay.
No, and this is, it's complicated. There's a lot of trying to figure out the best for the number in the grade and the school choice percentage, and then what does that impact the total percentage of school choice and all of those numbers. So if there are any questions about this calculation, and before you vote, I want to make sure you understand. Once I have the rest of the information from the affordable housing, I'll be in a better position to give you that data.
kind of three-dimensional chess because time that seems to be.
But yes, it is three-dimensional.
This is yeah. You always did.
So per our policy, the school committee's formal vote is simply to choice or not to choice. The superintendent ultimately makes the grade by grade determination. Our policy requires the superintendent to present to us how he's thinking about it and us to be able to discuss, does that make sense? And then the vote would actually be, yes, let's proceed with being choice.
I move that we continue to.
A second. Goes the second. Give it Kecker. Babe.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, that
Takes this to us what?
All right. We're going to power through to the end here because the policy committee has been doing some fine work. We have 3 potential policies for approval.
I know everybody hears policy and gets nervous, but I promise they're easy. And
No, everyone perked up. They looked super excited. The second note is that by default, we would do 2 reads of these. So if we're adopting a whole new policy and so forth, typically we would discuss it and then go away and come back. These are all fairly straightforward, smaller edits. So I think I'll ask Megan to present them all. We can discuss them. If people have questions, we can then waive a second read and approve, or if anybody wants to have more time, we can certainly put them back on the agenda.
So I'll start with ADDA, which are background checks. So I want to just briefly frame this policy update. The district already has a very strong background check policy. This is a discussion that came up that is really just all about strengthening and aligning our practices around student safety, maintaining a clear process, and protections around how information is collected for employees and future employees. Bill, did you want to touch a little bit on how this came up, just because it was a conversation that you and I had?
Yeah, sure. So there's a superintendent listserv, and months ago, another superintendent said, "Hey, Massachusetts superintendents, did you realize that somebody can have had a finding in DCF for child abuse or neglect, and it will not show up on a CORI or a fingerprint if there hasn't been a criminal action." You're like, "Ooh, well, that's not good." So I brought to Megan and the policy committee, we immediately started adding the DCF, and I said, this is our practice now because we want to prevent those people from being chaperones or working for us or and then the policy committee looked at it and said, we want the policy to reflect the practice.
Thank you. So that's really all this one is about. Nothing else will be changing as far as our current procedures. We're just adding another layer to that background check process. Do you want me to keep going through them? Okay. The second, let's see, I lost letters here. BDA, School Committee Organizational Meeting. This one is very straightforward and simple. It was just brought to my attention that in this section we are missing. So this is the first meeting when we select a chairperson and a vice chair. We were just missing secretary from that language. So in the red line copies, just added in the word secretary. That was literally it as far as that one goes. And I did want to, before I get into the last one here, which involves the health office, just a quick note about the work of the policy subcommittee. At our most recent meeting, we invited both school nurses, and we had a really great conversation. I think it's much more beneficial to have these conversations as things come up in legislation and things like that we might not always be in the know about, and I think they felt very heard. I really appreciated them taking the time out of their very busy days to join us. So we're going to do that on a more regular basis, whether it's twice a year or something, but I really would rather not wait until I come to the group with 4 billion policy change recommendations. So just a note on that moving forward.
They were really happy to be asked to the table.
Very much. I think they felt heard, and it was good for us too. So I have one. There will be some more coming, but there's some changes that DESE and DPH need to kind of figure out before we can discuss them. But this one is JLC, Student Health Services and Requirements. This is simply adding language that this is for our policies regarding epinephrine, so EpiPens, and this includes all forms, FDA-approved forms of epinephrine. So there's a nasal spray now. This also includes the generic medication that you would actually draw up instead of having like an auto injector. So it's just including all FDA-approved forms of epinephrine for our students who require them. Any questions?
This is not a criticism of the subcommittee, but I found these last two policies difficult to read because of the formatting and some of the language. And I really think they would benefit from being edited to be more readable and to be clearer in what's going on.
The red line copies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think the problem started before the red line.
You mean the policy as a whole. You mean the full policy.
I mean the full policy, yeah, not just the red line.
Policy. That's kind of policy, though. I would love to say that we could simplify our entire policy manual, but that.
Well, to the contrary, we just went through a 2 or 3 year process of refreshing the entire policy book to reflect the state standards and recommendations. So while I agree with you that many of them are hard to read, they're pretty much the sort of standard legal.
So the standard is that they should be hard to read?
Yes. Well, the standards that they are hard to read. One thing we could certainly do is think about anywhere that we wanted, you thought a clarifying block of text at the top, like, here's what this actually says. Probably run the whole thing through AI. We just give us some summaries. But for the text itself, that's we could decide to do it anyway, but wanted to give you the context that that's how we landed where we are.
This is not intended as a criticism. I think it's just we're looking at the effect of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid.
Yes. All right. Well, if someone wants to make a motion to waive a second read on these three, we can move forward through them.
Wow, that's
What committee I'd rather have. I feel more comfortable with somebody outside the committee. Do that. Second.
Yeah.
To waive this.
I'll make a motion that we waive the second reading on policy updates ADDA background checks, BDA school committee organizational meetings, and JLC student health services and requirements, and proceed with a vote to recruit.
House.
All in favor? Aye. All right. And I would also accept a motion to approve all three at once. And you did so well.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve all three policy updates at one time. Do I need to list them all?
I don't know. I thought that was great.
And I they spoke directly followed the other one listed them all. You're thinking about
The second.
Seconded. All in favor? By Dick. All right. Thank you to the policy committee. We have updated policies. They will appear online and so forth. Unfinished business, just some updates from various subcommittees. And one just on the capital plan improvement. We've made some very good progress with input from the project management consultant who gave us estimates, had a meeting with the administration to think about how we would prioritize and sequence. We have one more step now, which is to sit down with the town manager and make sure what we have in mind would not run afoul of anything that is required on the town side or particular concern or focus for the town. And then we'll bring this either at the next meeting or the one after for the committee to look at and discuss, and hopefully be on track to be able to present that to the town at a meeting in May. HR subcommittee finally successfully kicked off with Unit C at a very productive first session. I think we banged out 4 or 5 tentative agreements. We will have our next meeting tomorrow. And the tech subcommittee met today with a bunch of teachers at Morris, which was really appreciated them making the time. It was very interesting to hear their perspective, and we will meet with the LMHS teachers next month. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else. Tech or on HR. All right. Finance committee, not a lot going on with the budget these days, so.
So a good chunk of it already. More to come. I think our next subcommittee meeting is scheduled for March 6th. And then, of course, we're also going to be coordinating a time to also have a joint session with the town finance committee also coming.
All right. And
Yeah, okay, and down it.
Just that will be me, but
Berkshire Taconic about the, I think early.
That was March 6th as well, I believe.
March 2nd, that was.
Oh, maybe March 2nd. Yeah.
I think it was early.
policy.
Policy meets either next week or the week after. Next week.
All right. Any other business?
like
All right. In the predicted time window, we could.
says to tell you
There you go. Got it.
Yep.
Anyone want to adjourn?
return.
Megan wants to adjourn.
Oh, second.
Kim also wants to adjourn.
Jacob.
You're a funny girl.
All in favor?
What a funny lady over there.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.